10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engines.
Here, just a brief origin story. School library journal blogger and fantastic library media specialist Travis Junker of 100 Scope Notes. He and I run into each other at ALA and things like that on occasion. He lives out in Michigan, and I, again, am here in Baltimore. And one night when a bunch of us were just out at, I don't know, a hotel bar or something, we were talking about it, and I said, Travis, I would love, if I could follow any passion, I would love to just have a podcast like The Nerdist or like whatever else I listen to, only one where we just get to sit and talk to authors. Because inevitably at a conference, once you get past the 10 or 15 minute mark of talking to an author, you start hearing them talk about these stories that are just incredible. And you realize that all of these stories inform the books that they write or the illustrations that they create. And that's a really awesome thing. So I want to do this. I want to start with this. And my first, and he kind of just said, well, just do it. And so I just did it. I needed someone to tell me just to start. And so I did. And so a week later, I was talking to my, I call her my genius pal because we collaborate on everything. Sherry Gick, a librarian from Indiana. And I said, we're going to ALA and we're going to ISTE. Can I just interview you for this podcast? Let's just sit and talk. Just talk about your conference experience, why librarians should go. And we did. And it was wonderful. And the podcast really started off that way, that I really intended it to be, well, I'm a librarian. Let me make recordings of conversations that I think librarians would want to hear. And so I started talking to one of my author friends, Sudipta Barthan-Quallen, and she, from there I said, hey, Sudipta, why don't you suggest a friend or two that I could talk to, vouch for someone that I could then talk to next. And that led to a couple other people and a couple other people. And some of them were just people that on a whim, I sent an email out and said, like to Dave Roman, author of Astronaut Academy. I just said, Dave, I love your work and I love your graphic novel. And I'd love to just talk to you about comics for kids. And he said, yes. And so, we just sit and talk and we geek out over comics or over whomever I'm talking to. We're just, it's really meant to be a chance for us to have, I guess it's meant for us to have a private conversation that the whole world listens in on. And that's been a really neat thing. So I guess to answer your question too, in the beginning, I was making it for librarians and for myself. But nearly 100 episodes later, now it's turned into something that really the author illustrator community, I'm hearing from a lot from them that they're listening to it while drawing, while sketching, while working on whatever manuscripts. And it's neat to be part of that tribe as well. I love my librarian tribe. I think we're a really strong group of people, great, innovative people. But to be part of all of you that are creating and that are bringing that wonder into our libraries through books is a really special thing to be able to be in both of those groups.
They both seem like they belong together, right? Those two groups of people definitely belong together. And when I started my podcast, yours was already going, and I heard of it, but I never took the time to actually listen to it, and it was exactly the podcast I wanted to make. So after I started mine, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's doing the podcast that I want to do. So it's just,
well, see, this is what makes you and I such a good pair. It's so good, one, to affirm that there's other people doing this in the world, right? I started this podcast because no one else was doing it. If someone else had been doing it, I'd be listening to them, and there may or may not even be a Let's Get Busy podcast. But the fact that I didn't know about anyone else, and so I got to be that person, that makes it even cooler than for me to have found you. Because Nick, I love your podcast, and I think you and I really should pair up to have a goal of interviewing every single author and illustrator in the entire world.
Yeah.
And we can't do that alone, so clearly we have to pair up.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.